Hello team and welcome back to Transfer Winners and Losers, where we two-foot silly season, helping me debunk some of the latest headlines on today's episode. It's Joseph Tomlinson. How are you, mate? How was your weekend?
Yeah, not too bad. I'll be honest with you, I feel like I'm paying the price for a heavy weekend of boozing, which is never great on a Monday morning. But I hear you played golf yesterday, which could have been even worse for the system.
I did. I bought myself a new bag, I bought myself some new clubs, and I proceeded to be absolutely dog-turd and almost left in a huff on the ninth hole. But the good people at home don't want to hear me talk about golf. Let's move on to this week's talking point, because it's a tasty one, and it's Ronaldo leaving Manchester United. Now, last week, you and I sort of poo-pooed the idea of him going to Chelsea, because there were rumours circulating that Chelsea's new owner, Todd Boehly, met Jorge Mendes to talk about Ronaldo. And we were like, well, you know, he's head honcho of Chesterfoot. He's got another 139 clients. They were perhaps talking about one of them. But then fast forward a week, and it turns out that Cristiano Ronaldo is actually amenable to leaving United. He's asked to go, hasn't he, if the right bid comes in. That was on Saturday. And then a little evolution's happened this morning where he's missed training, which the club have accepted because Ronaldo has put forward family reasons as his justification for his absence, and the club have no problem with that. We don't know what's happened there. Unfair to speculate. But what we do know, Joseph, is that he wants to go. So what do you make of this latest development? Selfish or justified?
I mean, I suppose it can be both, can't it, really? He is a little bit selfish, obviously, for the timing, but this is a guy who has won it all and continues to want to win it all, and he's not going to win it all at Manchester United, and he obviously wants to be playing Champions League football. I think that is a big sticking point for him, though. I don't see a club available on the market immediately, to me anyway, that can offer him Champions League football. I don't think Bayern Munich is a particularly realistic destination right now. Chelsea, does he fit into a Thomas Tuchel pressing system? I'm very, very unconvinced there. Maybe a move back to Italy. I've seen Napoli's name linked. Does he go to Napoli on 600 grand a week when De Laurentiis just last week said they wouldn't be signing anyone who's 35 in the striking department? Well, Ronaldo's coming up to 38. Where is his destination in the Champions League? I find it a bit puzzling to think that Jorge Mendes would have released these sorts of statements without having at least somewhere potentially lined up. Otherwise, it does get down the sort of slightly embarrassing route of, oh dear, well, we can't find him a destination. Nobody wants to buy Cristiano Ronaldo. Maybe he has to stay at Manchester United. But you can also look at it from the other side, can't you? Maybe this is a tactic from Jorge Mendes and Cristiano Ronaldo to put the pressure on Manchester United in terms of the summer window. They want to see more business done, and business done quicker, and business done better. So by forcing Manchester United's hands and say, well, we're going to be leaving here, there's not enough ambition being shown, maybe that's a route to force Manchester United's hand too. I think it's very
there's already a
interesting.
tremendous amount of pressure on United to get those deals done without Ronaldo weighing in, right?
Yeah. Oh, for sure. For sure. It's very interesting, isn't it? I mean, could it be a blessing in disguise, though, Hamel? This is what I want to ask you. Could it be a blessing in disguise from Erik ten Hag? I know that Erik ten Hag kind of said in his pre-season press conference when he's unveiled, what does Ronaldo bring? He said goals, doesn't he? He's going to speak to Ronaldo about his future there. But last season, United, yes, he scored goals. He scored 24 of them in all competitions. And United scored 73 across the course of the season. But as a team and a collective force going forward, were undeniably weaker. The season before, they scored 121 goals in all competitions. So a 50-goal swing across there. And obviously, yes, they have lost Mason Greenwood. They've lost Edinson Cavani as well. Mason Greenwood is no longer 20-goal a season striker that he was in 2021. But do you think maybe, because United aren't going to be competing for league titles and Champions League titles in the short term, for the long-term planning of the club and long-term health of the club, this might end up being a blessing in disguise for Erik ten Hag?
Well, I think I made my thoughts pretty clear last year when he signed. I said on Sunday Vibes that it felt like short-termism, that it might come at the cost of, some of Marcus Rashford's development, some of Anthony Martial's, maybe, Greenwood or Sancho would see fewer minutes as a result, and some of that materialised, but he still came up with the goods, didn't he? Like you said, 18 goals in the Premier League last season, a third top goal scorer, United's top goal scorer by a distance. He still delivered the goods, and I mean, if you're struggling to get De Jong over the line, if Malacia is the only signing that is on the cusp of being done, then United dipping their toe back into the market for another big striker who can come up with 15 to 20 goals feels very unfeasible at the moment, doesn't it? That would feel like a real headache for your whole recruitment department to kind of try and be negotiating De Jong and a Ronaldo replacement at the same time. So yeah, not ideal from that perspective. Me and you were talking about Bayern Munich as a possible destination for him before we started shooting this show. I don't think that's going to happen. Bayern Munich spent 1 to 2 months, really bringing that Sadio Mane fee down to something they felt was palatable, didn't they? They spent all that time arguing with Liverpool over £7-8 million. It doesn't feel like they're a club that are going to be willing to give Ronaldo £300,000 to £400,000 a week wages and commit to, give him minutes at the cost of someone else.
Yeah.
Obviously, if Lewandowski does go for 50 mil, that might change things. They might bring him in a short-term deal because there aren't a lot of options at number 9 at the moment, are there?
No.
PSG, if they'd carried on conducting themselves in the same way they had in previous seasons, that might have been a viable destination for him. But now that Christophe Galtier has come in, now that Skamaka is a target for them at number 9, they're going through sort of young, hungry players trying to reverse their Galactico policy from years gone by. Again, doesn't feel like very good timing for him in that regard. So I'm really scratching my head as well. Really scratching my head. If his kind of main motive to move is to win these top trophies, I don't feel like a top club is going to come in for him. So maybe Chelsea is the most likely destination or viable destination from a financial standpoint, maybe from a sporting standpoint. But then what does that do with Kai Havertz's minutes down the centre? If he's if they sold Lukaku thinking that he's going to play, he's going to be their point man, I really don't know. You guys should let us know at home. Where do you think Ronaldo is going to go? Which club do you think he's best suited to? Or will he just end up staying at Manchester United and this is all politics? Who knows? Before we move on to our winners, Joseph, what do you make of Malacia coming in? And is that a signing that excites you or what?
I haven't really seen an awful lot of him, to be honest with you, but it's certainly a big week for Manchester United, isn't it? I think this is a real trend we've seen so far throughout this window. We've seen managers kind of reverting to what they know. Mikel Arteta going back to Manchester City and taking Gabriel Jesus, Jesse Marsch going back to the Red Bull group and taking Brendan Aronson, taking Christensen, Erik ten Hag dipping back into mainly Ajax and the Dutch league and taking players from there. So clearly he's played against Malacia a number of times and has obviously scouted him on multiple occasions and knows that he's going to be at a certain level. It's probably the end of Alex Telles' time at the club. It's probably meaning that Brandon Williams is going to go back out on loan. So if Erik ten Hag wants him, then I'm fully behind it. It's a big week for United though, isn't it? With Lisandro Martinez potentially making a decision between United and Arsenal, and of course Frenkie de Jong, that deal, it just is so slow, such slow progress. And if United miss out on him, as I said on Sunday Vibes, then it's been a disastrous start to the window. But if they get him, it's been a positive one. So let's see what the next 7 days holds, mate.
And one thing I didn't mention about Chelsea just then as well is that if they're pursuing Sterling and Rafinha Tomlinson for a combined 110 mil, then adding someone else to their forward line doesn't seem likely, does it? If they're really looking to bolster
and United want a fee out of Chelsea. United want a fee out of Chelsea. If they're selling to a direct rival, their number 1 striker in Cristiano Ronaldo, a huge commercial pool who's on the biggest wage of the club with a year left on his contract, and United are going to want a significant fee for that deal to happen. Are Chelsea going to pay a significant fee? I can't see it at all, man.
Stranger things have happened, but the logic doesn't stack up at the moment, does it?
No.
Yeah. Anyway, let's move on then to our winners, who are Tottenham Hotspur. Now, we spoke about this a little bit on Sunday Vibes, but let's cover in a bit more detail here because they have confirmed the signing, haven't they, of 25-year-old Brazilian forward Richarlison from Everton for £50 million, with a further £10 million due if he meets certain criteria. Now, he was said, interestingly enough, to be the top target of the new Spurs performance director, Greta Stenson. So he's got his man. And he's paid a handsome price for it. Maybe a little bit of an overpay, but that is the market sometimes, isn't it, I guess. Performed pretty admirably for Everton last season. I think 15 goal contributions in 30 performances. A lot of those goals coming in high pressure, big moments as well. 6 goals in Everton's final 9 games, where, of course, they did about just enough to stay in the top division, didn't they? Joseph, how do you think Conte will utilise him next season?
Oof. Well, there's just so many minutes and so many competitions and so many substitute appearances available. I think it's going to be a pretty fluid system in that front three where everybody's getting minutes, everybody's getting rested. You know, Harry Kane can't be expected to play 60 games next season and a World Cup in the middle of it without getting injured, quite frankly. Same probably said of the likes of Son and the young Kulusevski. So I think he'll get plenty of minutes, and I think he'll be deployed all the way across the front line. I think Carlo Ancelotti in the past has said the majority of his best play comes in that left half space. I also think he can operate in that right half space as well. He can operate as a spearhead. His numbers look pretty similar across the board, don't they? Wherever he plays, sort of averaging about 0.3 non-penalty expected goals a game, which is absolutely fine. But I think the most important trait for Conte is that he's just a dog. He is going to work his arse off, isn't he? So I think this is a good move for all parties, to be honest with you. I think it's a great fee for Everton. It's a step up for Richarlison. It's great cover and potentially a starter at Tottenham Hotspur. And, you know, we're seeing the Brazilian moves get done because Gabriel Jesus has been officially announced this morning as well, hasn't he, as an Arsenal player. One of my favourite signings of the summer. And I am kind of interested to hear from the guys at home, maybe you as well, Hamster. Who do you think has got the better move there? Because I've seen Arsenal Fan TV, I've seen all the clips of, you know, Robbie and Lee Judges and stuff saying they would have preferred Richarlison. I think Gabriel Jesus is definitely the better signing. What do you think?
I think he's the better footballer. I honestly don't think there's much between them in terms of who is the better signing for their respective club. Maybe Gabriel Jesus at Arsenal, because Arsenal were in more dire need of a point man than Tottenham were for depth, let's say, with Tottenham, you know, already having Lucas Moura, Bergwijn is still there, etc. in the ranks. But Richarlison is a massive upgrade on them. I do think they have to be much more mindful of Kane and Son's minutes moving forward, because they are both 30 now, aren't they? Resting them for important Champions League games is a luxury they've been unable to afford in previous seasons gone by. They can do that now. Although it is interesting that, like, I don't think Richarlison can do the job that Kane does for Tottenham, but I think he can do the job that Son does for Tottenham, so we might see him on that left rather than down the middle more often than not. Son can also play down the middle, can't he? A great signing for both parties. I think the better value is probably Gabriel Jesus, but yeah, maybe Spurs have just had to overpay there to get the deal over the line. Let's move on then to our losers, because I think you'll be doing the majority of the talking here. It's the Frenkie de Jong situation, which is getting increasingly messy, isn't it? With the Dutchman put between a rock and a hard place last week. He's told ESPN he wants to stay. He's told everyone who's willing to listen that he wants to stay. Barca president Joan Laporta has obviously said he wants to keep him at the club as well, but only for the right price. And there's sort of an element of doing their dirty washing in public here, right? Because he said the player can stay, but only if he renegotiates his current wage. Thoughts on this, Tomlinson? Because I did see you tweet about it over the weekend.
I just think it's Barcelona playing another one of their games, really, isn't it? I think we've seen this with pretty much every major move that's happened with the club behind the scenes over the last few years. I remember Laporta saying almost identical quotes about Lionel Messi, about Luis Suarez, about Ousmane Dembele, I believe. He was saying something very similar about, wasn't he, a few months ago? Now it feels like he's saying the same thing about Frenkie de Jong. Effectively, to me, what I took from the quotes were it was almost a little bit of a pressure tactic to either get Manchester United to hurry the move along, or to get Frenkie de Jong to come out and say, okay, well, I'm not willing to take a salary cut. And by saying that I'm not willing to take a salary cut, I then become a little bit of the villain in Barcelona fans' eyes as well. If you're not willing to take a salary cut, you're not willing to be at the club. Yeah, you're not willing to take a salary cut, then you're not one of the real guys at the club. You're not like a true culé. So I think it's like a bit of a pressure tactic by Laporta. You know, they come out with this sort of stuff quite regularly, don't they, in the press? So let's just see what happens over the next 7 days. Overall, I just kind of feel a little bit sorry for Frenkie. It feels like his own club is shitting on him a little bit. He doesn't really want to leave, but he's kind of being forced out. So I feel a little bit sorry for him. In the week, he's got engaged as well. What a time.
Yeah, we've got some other Barca news here. Just stuff that I read over the weekend that I thought was interesting, that helps contextualise the Frenkie move a little bit, because there has been rumours that they've negotiated a deal with Manchester United. You know, should the player not renegotiate his wages, so they've got that sort of waiting in the wings, they can pull the trigger on an €85 million move to Manchester United, despite the player having not discussed personal terms with United yet, at least according to Fabrizio Romano. Now, we know from Barcelona Vice President for Finance, Eduard Romeu's quotes, that the club need to raise 500 million euros to save themselves this season, which is pretty drastic, isn't it? As such, they've agreed to sell 10% of their La Liga TV rights for the next 25 years to a private party, Sixth Street Partners. They've also agreed to sell 49.9% of their merchandising arm, and combined, these two deals apparently make them 600 million euros. So there might be a bit of wiggle room there to add players to the team. Rafinha maybe being one. I don't know, being able to register Kessié and Christensen finally. But all this news does show how little Barcelona have to play with, I guess, and how selling Frenkie might be an appealing prospect for them. And like you said, Tomlinson, this whole wage thing is just to change the optics on that move to, well, we gave him the option to stay and he didn't, rather than, you know what, we're actually desperate for the cash. Right, let's move on to our moment of the week then. And it's Klaus, am I pronouncing that right? Saving Derby County. Here's a little snippet for you.
So this from one of the joint administrators, Carl Jackson. We're very pleased to have achieved today's sale in a deal which secures the long-term future of the club and one which represents the very best outcome for creditors. I would like to express my sincere thanks to the club staff, players and the fans for their loyalty and patience as they supported the club through the administration. And this from another of the joint administrators, Andrew Hosking, who said, the level of complexity involved in bringing this matter to a conclusion has been unparalleled, and we're grateful to all stakeholders and their advisors for their hard work, which has enabled us to overcome a magnitude of challenges and allow the rescue of this historic club. This deal represents a real milestone along an illustrious history of Derby County, and one which marks the end of the uncertainty experienced by supporters in the wider community whilst the club has been in administration, and also importantly is one which complies with the EFL insolvency policy and provides the best return for creditors. Today signifies a new beginning for the club. It enables the club to move forward into the new season with a clean slate under local ownership, under the stewardship of Close.
That is winners and losers for another week. Joseph, do we have anything we want to send the people to following this episode?
Yeah, if you haven't already watched We Need to Talk on Friday, go and watch that. I was chatting a little bit more about some of the big Manchester United and rest of the Premier League movers and shakers, so go and watch that.
Lovely job, Lynn. If you haven't watched our episode of Unfiltered with Joe Cole yet, go and do that as well. Like this video, subscribe to the channel with notifications on, and we'll see you on next week's Transfer Winners and Losers. Bye-bye.